may be on a road that has no turns.
They say resist is futile. That individual is out of style. It's a simulation, not a but I know less about
Hello and good evening. Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, Episode 13, Time Squared is over. And it has been since 1989, I believe. Yeah, we're still in 89. But we're just getting started here in this April of 2025 as we continue our mission to watch every episode of Star Trek The Next Generation and review it. I'm Dave Mader here on Live Long and Podcast, a live stream on YouTube. We're on Facebook too, but Facebook doesn't like live videos anymore, so I feel like I don't even need to plug it. And Twitch, of course, the king of the live videos. And you might be listening to us in audio version. And we got a great podcast, a great panel here to break it all down. As always, we have the Leaf fan himself in Ottawa. It's Adam Woodward.
Hey, Dave. I can tell you that there's no score yet because there's been no horns honking.
Mm-hmm.
And the other night was interesting when they were. I'm in a part of Ottawa that's actually I'm probably about 5 blocks away from the Parliament buildings that way, so you know where I am. But it's we're in the student area, lots of bars, lots of this, so it gets loud.
Right. Well, it's hockey playoff season, and you're a Toronto Maple Leaf fan who's moved to the.
But his town is divided. It is. Yeah. And then you got the Canadians in it. Like you got everything's happening here.
And the Canadians are in it. It's almost like the election, Adam.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is coming up on Monday.
3 parties, 3 teams.
Yes. Coming in next here, it's my wife, Jane Mader.
Hi, Dave.
Hello. Yes. We were a little late coming on because she said I was buzzing or staticky or something. There was no solution.
No,
maybe we had to reverse the polarity. Maybe we had to go negative instead of positive when we were just
mysterious glitch.
A mysterious glitch. We're not really sure what's going on. And coming in here, it's the beard man himself. It's Kevin Millard.
Just be careful, Dave. You don't meet yourself 6 hours from now.
I hope not.
Oh God, could you imagine 2 Daves?
I could. Jane's shaking her head, but I think it might be a good thing. I don't know.
We actually had 2 Daves during COVID. We had Dave, Prime Dave, and Mirror Dave.
That's true.
That's true. And yeah, I was looking back at that time I was loaded on that podcast with Davin in Halifax, and I was.
You looked back at that?
It was something.
I looked back, yeah, and
I wouldn't even do that.
Not my best work.
No,
but
no.
But it was kind of enjoyable in some ways, just to see you guys all annoyed. So anyway, we're coming in live stream. We got Sam with us. Jeez, I gotta go to the
Sam.
Media style here because no one likes this. I don't know what to do with that. Okay. We got Norman with us. He says this is one of his favorite episodes of season 2, given that this episode would never work with William Shatner. Patrick Stewart's stellar acting makes the difference. Yes. So you could compare this to The Enemy Within from the original series. I hadn't quite put that together, but that does make a lot of sense. We got 2 captains. Yeah. Well, and Sam's making that comparison. You are in a time loop. I know, as I saw you do this already. Yes. So, in this episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, the crew of the Enterprise encounter a double of Captain Picard, apparently from the future. And a lot of things ensue from there. Now, we're gonna break down the episode kind of frame by frame, all scene by scene at least, and talk all about it. So this episode always I found intriguing, but on the rewatch for me today, I just realized how much of a bottle episode this really is. It's completely within the Enterprise sets. There are no guest stars. There are some limited special effects and things like of that nature, but pretty much it's just the crew of the Enterprise. So, for better or worse. Kevin, how's this one for you?
It's good, if not a little boring. It's another one of these time loop ones, right? Like it's probably the first time loop one of this series, but it's a lot like the one where they're playing cards and they explode several times.
Yeah, Cause and Effect is the episode I think you're referring to. Yeah, this
On the ship.
This is good. I like his
Repeat.
action to his double.
Yeah, well, but I think it's a really like strong episode for Patrick Stewart acting wise. I think, but he's not happy with himself. He's not happy with this future version of himself. Jane, did you enjoy this or did you fall asleep on the couch?
It was a long day, but I've seen it many times. I like the episode, but again, I feel like it's an earlier season one for sure. They've done some of these themes a lot better in future episodes, so it's good. It's watchable, but there's more improvement to come in the future for Star Trek.
It could be better. Is that what you're saying?
It could be better, and it will be better.
All right. Adam, does it get better than this?
No. First of all, okay, I watched this with my 22-year-old son tonight. He had never seen it before. He quite liked it. I like watching Star Trek through the eyes of people who've never seen it before. It's pretty cool to do that. I found this episode all kinds of annoying, but I will start with one thing, Dave, because it's really not pertinent to the episode, and I'll fill you in with my gaps later. But the uniforms in this series or this season and the first season just drive me crazy. And Picard, because he's featured in this episode, he looks so small and tiny in it, and it's way too tight. I'm so happy they moved on from that.
From the uniform?
Yes.
Yeah, it's quite the tight leotard. You got to be. It's not the easiest thing to wear. You see him do the Picard maneuver at the very end, where he has to do the tuck there. I'm sure this was probably a long episode to shoot for Patrick Stewart, considering he had all this coverage and he had to play two parts and then talk to himself and everything else in this episode.
If you bring up Norman's comment there, I like those things. I wish we saw more of those.
Skirts?
Scants.
I'm sorry, they're scants. They've dropped that. Is this the episode where they were finally dropped? Because that felt like we've
been through that. We're done with those now.
We're never seeing them again.
No. Well, we see them. I think. Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin.
I think that was only season one, was it not?
Maybe.
Yeah, we see them in the end, of course when they go back in time, but you don't see them much.
Jane, you like the scant, right?
No, not really.
No.
No.
Okay,
No,
just
it's
checking.
not a good look.
Well,
No.
The boots don't look good with them. They need sandals.
Or
These are
cowboy
so-
boots. Just cowboy boots.
Cowboy boots would be better. Starfleet issues sandals or flip flops would be good. All right. Well, let's jump into this episode, everyone, and break it all down. So the Enterprise is at warp on its way. Commander Riker is in his quarters, and he's preparing a beautiful breakfast here.
No. Stop right there.
Okay.
Oh no.
No. Go through this, and then we'll talk.
Okay, well, we see Riker. He's cracking eggs. He's scrambling them up the way Jane likes them. I like them over easy. That's my preference. But Riker's not even going to ask. We see that the crew show up with various appliances and things. Data. I don't know what Data's bringing in. Maybe a grill, and Geordi's got maybe the other part of the grill. Maybe this is
It's raclette.
It's the hot plate.
They're doing a raclette breakfast, everyone, and the door keeps opening and closing as Pulaski then comes in, and then Worf. It's kind of a strange.
Worf has nothing.
Worf brought nothing. He brought no gifts. He's just like, I'll come and eat, but that is all. And so Riker tells us, well, first of all, Data criticizes this as not a good way to prepare sustenance.
Not an efficient way to prepare breakfast
Compared to a replicator. Is that what he means?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Not my favorite piece of dialogue. And they're going along here. We find out that Riker, he gives more of his backstory here about how his father taught him to cook. His mother died when he was young, and he hated doing it, but it's something that he now likes to do. And
I saw no evidence that he enjoyed that at all.
Well, he's smiling.
But okay, so here's my problem. Coincidentally, I made scrambled eggs for dinner for Jackson, and I go, these are way better than his looked.
Yeah. Well, his eggs were from some weird planet.
So he's talking about like the ingredients and like he did nothing.
He put nothing in them.
He put nothing in them. He had all these like things.
Norman called it right out. It's not an omelet. It's more like scrambled eggs. That's all he did. But even then,
A cook is only as good as his ingredients.
He just cracked the eggs open. He did nothing more.
He didn't season them. He didn't do anything.
Nothing. What the hell? I would be so disappointed.
Jane, did these look appetizing to you?
No, not one bit.
They're
one
not
bit.
fluffy. They're overdone.
Yeah, overcooked.
Yeah. Well, don't tell Worf that. He likes them,
Delicious.
Because Riker serves them out. Oh, and
Also-
Crusher. Oh, sorry, not Crusher.
Also, not enough eggs for that many people. Not even close.
That's true. But did Pulaski bring some form of booze, like an ale?
She said ale, some kind of ale.
So they're having booze for breakfast?
Drinking in the morning.
Why
In the
not?
morning. You can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning, as they say. So,
I noticed some lefties in the room here. A couple left-handed.
Worf among
Worf.
them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Michael
Brent
Dorn is
Spiner.
actually a lefty. Yeah. Brent
Yeah.
Spiner as well.
Mhm.
I eat with my left hand, but I'm not left-handed. Like I hold my fork in my left hand always. But yeah, but there you go, Brent Spiner. No one likes the eggs, at least Pulaski and Geordi don't. Data doesn't really have a sense of taste, it seems. And but Worf, he likes these eggs. Delicious. Just then, Riker gets a call from the bridge. Everyone to the bridge. Come on up. The Enterprise is going along, and they've detected a shuttlecraft. And they don't know anything else, and that is the end of our teaser.
A Federation shuttlecraft. They know it's a Federation.
We have to go find this Federation shuttlecraft. Go. Now, my first critique here is that I don't think we needed this breakfast scene. I feel like you're better off, when they go in, as we'll show after the credits here, they're going to go into the shuttle and reveal the other Picard. I feel like that's where you tease the episode. I think that's the end of the cold open.
Well, you also don't talk about how great cooking is and use one ingredient.
And then no one likes your food.
Yes.
Anyway, so I don't know. Maybe they're trying to just set up more of Riker's backstory for the Icarus factor, which is coming up with this whole thing with his father, just so that there's one line of dialogue before we get into that one next week. But yeah, it seems more interesting to me that they would do that. So
you could see the cold opening or ending on opening the shuttlecraft.
Yeah, you open it, and then there's
Yeah.
another Picard, and then what is it, number one? What is it? And then he doesn't know what to say.
And he's just in there eating shitty eggs.
Yeah, and I just think it's a mistake the way they wrote this. But that's okay, I guess. So they find this shuttlecraft, and they don't bother to read the markings.
Not at all. I can see what it is.
Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that one, because that was my number 2.
Right. Well, yeah, they're like, well, it's a Federation shuttlecraft out here without a mothership. What could this be about? Well, that's pretty weird, but we're not going to try to read anything that's on here. Or look at its transporter. Let's bring it into the shuttle bay. So,
Or even look at it as soon as you come into the bay. Anyway.
Have we been in the shuttle bay set before? Is this? I feel like maybe at least one scene, but I don't know. Maybe they felt like showing off this set in this episode.
What do they have to do that they need 2 guys there all the time?
There's 2 tractor beams to control.
They got 1,000 people on this ship, Adam, and they got to give them stuff to do. Or they're gonna be bored.
That's true. But man, like it's like the transporter chief. What do they do when there's nothing to transport?
They do drills.
You don't want to know.
It's a very dark room, closed
Okay.
off from the inside.
I think there was the one episode.
O'Brien's always looking angry and sweaty.
Well, we'll talk about O'Brien's place in this episode later on, but yeah, this was a little. I think they did go to the set once when they were doing Data lore. I feel like this is where Data was planning to, I don't know, conspire with the, or lore rather, was conspiring with the crystalline entity. But they bring the shuttle bay. We get to see some tractor beams happening here. Was Data's coordinating it? Now there's this guy who just works down here in the shuttle bay too.
He doesn't have a pip or nothing.
No, he's presumably enlisted. Yeah, so they bring down the shuttle bay. Now, of course, it has the Enterprise's registry on it, but those guys, that's above their pay grade. They don't do that. So Worf and Riker come to investigate, and they see the name on the shuttle is Enterprise. What?
No, that's the reaction they should have had, but they just read it and then went, huh. And then looked over at the other one.
Nocturnal Lunatic says you got one person for the door and one person for the tractor beam. I guess there's some logic to that.
Go.
Yeah. So they head into. They notice that not only did they bring in this Enterprise shuttle, but they happen to bring it into the shuttle bay where this exact shuttle happens to be located. So,
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
The Enterprise Shuttle 5, also known as El Baz. This episode written by Morris Hurley, with a story by Kurt Michael Bensmiller, and directed by Joseph L. Scanlan.
Hey, I just wanted to ask quickly, Pulaski, I noticed that she, it showed special appearance by. Is she not on the regular cast for?
That's correct. Yeah, she's
know
never
that.
considered
Yeah,
she's
been.
never in the main
Never
credits
was.
the entire season, although she's very clearly a main character in this season and part of this cast, but not officially. She's always credited as a guest star. So
Never noticed that before.
Yeah. And then they pull back to reveal the shock that Pulaski has discovered first, that it is a Captain Picard double who's sitting in this shuttlecraft that they pulled out here. And they say, Captain Picard, you're on the bridge, right? He goes, of course. Well, you better come down here and you better bring Data. So we're going to go on down.
So it's not only Data, he also brings
Troy.
Yeah, Troy's brought, but I don't know who invited her. I'm going to get to some things with Troy in this episode that are confusing to me, but we're not there yet. So once Picard comes down to the bay, he's looking at this other version of himself, although slightly more weathered, I would say, the Picard double compared to Picard.
He made him very gray.
Looking a little gray, looking
A little bit of contouring.
Yeah, I'm not sure if his makeup's different here, but it seems a little different, noticeably different. Picard doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to think. What is this? What is he look? Is he looking upon an artificial life form, some kind of, I don't know, illusion? It could be anything. But he want him woken up, but Pulaski says not until I get him to sickbay. Like, we got to get him up to sickbay, and we got to try to figure this out. But Picard is very perturbed, I would say, right from the beginning of this whole affair. He's not too comfortable with any of this. So they kind of do some diagnosis here, and then they pull him out of the shuttle and pull him off here on this stretcher. And we see, Troy's here, and Troy's got that serious Troy look, as I like to put it, where Picard goes, "What's up?" And she goes, "Well, I don't know how to explain this, but that person is you. Like, he's totally, like, I can just tell. I don't know, like, how her powers work. I don't think the writers ever know how her powers work, but she can tell the emotions of individuals specifically. These are Picard emotions. These are Riker's emotions, etc. It would seem. And so Picard is very skeptical of the whole thing. He does not like it. Then he goes and turns his attention back to Riker and Data, who have noticed. I didn't get a shot of it, but I think they noticed the antimatter explosion residue.
How can you notice that? I think Picard said that. That looks like antimatter.
That looks like an antimatter explosion.
It looks like just like some scuff marks to me.
Yeah, but they know what they're looking for. They went to Starfleet Academy, so easy. And then they want Data to download the logs, but there's no power on the shuttle. The shuttle is completely powerless. Oh, they call down to Geordi. Geordi, get up here and help Data figure this out. Oh, sorry. Now I think I did get a shot.
Oh, this is where it is. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what. Would you know that this is an antimatter explosion residue, just out of range?
Well, now that it's close up, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, or it might look like some scuff marks. I agree with you, Jane.
He wasn't even using a tricorder. That was just on site. That's why he's captain.
That's why he's captain, first officer. Maybe Worf doesn't say anything really. So then Picard goes off here with Troy, and Data gets.
Don't you think it would be kind of oddly disconcerting to the crew to have a Picard, being carted off the sick bay across all the hallways and turbolifts?
I'd say so.
Yeah, I thought they would have beamed him directly there.
Well, yeah, they could have, but there is the crew is disturbed. You see here after they break from the shuttle bay, Riker goes up to the bridge and he sits down in the chair here for a minute. He's kind of like, I don't like this feeling. This is a weird, uneasy feeling, and that kind of is carrying through many scenes. It's a lot of looks and glances from various crew members as the Enterprise gets back to warp onto their original course now that they've picked up the shuttle. And they're trying to figure out the power. And so this is where Geordi connects the power to the shuttle, and it blows up in their face. The polarity's all off. Looking too good there. So doesn't make any sense. They're still trying to figure that out. Now down in sick bay, Captain Picard, I don't know how I'm going to refer to these two.
Doppelganger.
The doppelganger Picard is on the biobed. Pulaski's treating him. He's still unconscious, and they try to wake him here. Oh, first we see that there's artificial restraints that are in place for his protection, but she doesn't know any of it. Like Pulaski doesn't know that he's going to be like sort of delirious or any of this stuff yet. Like
no.
So it seems like a weird precaution considering they don't know much yet. But they go with it.
They know he's not Picard. He could be Dean. Like they don't know who he is.
True. It's just something you don't see always set up, but they put him into it. So they try the hypo spray here, and it's meant to be a stimulant, but it has the exact opposite effect. His vitals go off down, and he comes to near death, and she brings him back. Little did she know that if she just killed him, this time loop would have been broken. So,
Spoiler.
She gives him the opposite of a stimulant. Maybe she gives him another sedative, and that seems to bring him back to where he was. So they continue to monitor his progress, but the mystery continues. We flip back to Data and Geordi in the shuttle bay, and with the use of the phase modulator, they're able to kind of get the power going, but it doesn't quite work the way they want it to. Eventually, I think it's Data here that kind of figures out, like, well, you tried turning it up positively by 2 points. Now let's try turning it down negatively. And voila, we have power.
These amazing engineers, that took them way too long to figure out that if it goes off when you go positive, try negative.
True. Yeah, it was an interesting choice. But Jane, are you with us? I don't know what's going on with Jane. Jane?
Hello?
There it is.
Did you go into the void or something?
I did. I heard some meowing in the background, and I had to make sure no one was locked in a closet or anything like that.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the mystery continues here with Picard and his doppelganger. I'm trying to remember all this dialogue. It's a lot of like just them looking at each other in this episode. Like there's not visually, I don't have a lot to go off of. They finally try to wake him, right? Yeah. And the first time they try to wake him, he's just kind of he's confused. He doesn't know what's happening. There's all this thing. He's and Picard is like, tell me what's going on. Why did you leave the ship? Who are you? Tell me not. But doppelganger Picard is looking like very senile, perhaps very not with it. Good acting, just facial acting from Patrick Stewart and what he does physically in these scenes. It's very good. And then the other Picard, the main Picard, being so different than that, in the same scene. Troy following him around. Pulaski stays with doppelganger Picard, who's very confused and doesn't understand anything. They go to a staff meeting where Geordi says, guess what? We were able to download the logs from the shuttlecraft. However, the quality is not the best, but it will get better. So they pull it up here.
Felt like this was an unnecessary little ad.
Yeah, it's a little blurry. Yeah. We find out that the shuttle is from, I guess, in 6 hours in the future is what they established here, that there's going to be like this vortex here where the shuttle goes. We see a Commander Riker who wasn't on the bridge, apparently, was there to see off Picard from the shuttle bay in this moment. Riker's confused by that too, which doesn't happen later on in this time loop. So I don't know if they're... No. I feel like the doppelganger Picard comes from the first version of the loop, like the first time. Like it's the genesis of it.
There's only been one loop. Is that what you're thinking?
This is the only time it's a Picard meets another Picard is my theory here, because if Riker would have still been in that shuttle bay, if it was another way around. We see that from the shuttle's camera that once it leaves the Enterprise is then hit with this beam of light or energy that comes out. The Enterprise kind of gets thrown to the sides of this vortex and blown up it goes. And the Enterprise is lost with all hands. We then hear a log from Doppelganger Picard that he recorded shortly after, saying that he was the only survivor of the Enterprise being destroyed. And now they're left with...
It disturbs both him and Worf greatly.
Worf is not happy with it. Well, because it's this idea, like, why would Picard leave the ship in the middle of a crisis, leave the bridge in the middle of a crisis? It doesn't seem consistent. Although there would be reasons. Picard is very doubtful here. Yeah, Worf is not having it. And Picard's doing his best to try to still lead through this situation while kind of wrestling with his own self-doubt, because now he's kind of in a situation of impending doom. Like, every decision I make might end in the destruction of the Enterprise. A captain goes down with a ship. The ship does not go down without the captain. It's not that way. And so Worf talks about the legend of something that eats up starships.
Morbius,
and then causes these time disturbances as well, right? Was that part of his description? So maybe there's some kind of a legend here, some old Klingon legend that has some truth in it.
Kind of like when they bring Worf into these conferences, because up until really he's been pretty quiet.
Yeah, he doesn't say much in this episode. He likes the eggs, and that's about mostly it. But it's all coming down here, and they keep saying, "Well, do we turn around? Do we go back the way?" A lot of the same conversations they had in Cause and Effect of how do you break the time loop? Do you stop? Do you try? But it's always this idea of like, we can't second guess every decision because it might lead to the inevitable anyway, but it might not. You haven't even tried, so it's kind of unknown. They break from this meeting, and I think, what does Picard say? We're going to try to make we're going to try to make the only mistake once, or something of that nature. As they leave the conference room, you see this glance here between Worf and Riker as they're like, we're going to die in 3 hours unless we figure this out. So let's go back to work. Most of the crew, I don't know if they're completely aware of all this. They seem a little oblivious, but there's sort of this dread kind of permeating. Pulaski then calls Picard and Troy down to talk to Doppelganger Picard, because allegedly, according to Pulaski, he's more coherent.
But not.
This was a false report here from Pulaski, I got to tell you, where they wake him up and she goes, well, is he aware of us? And he says, not. She goes, I don't think so. I don't think he understands anything. Then why did you call me?
I think she called them down for this next conversation with Troy.
Right.
Her first instinct is to just relieve the captain of duty.
Well, yeah, we know that even though Pulaski wasn't in the meeting, she was listening to it. She was like sort of on the conference call. But
I've been monitoring, Captain.
I've been monitoring, and I think,
oh God, I hate her so much.
Do you? and she's going along here. And Troy, sensing the emotions from the doppelganger, gets overwhelmed. He's feeling confusion and anger and guilt and all these things with the destruction of the Enterprise. And Picard, I think, is this where Picard grabs him and he says, I need to know what you did. Tell me. And Troy says, no, he's like across a great chasm. It's all blurred images and distant voices and things like that. Again, Troy's power is very.
How does she know that? If she's
How does
just
she know
empath?
when he's?
Yeah.
She doesn't know what the images he's interpreting, or she can understand. I think you could understand confusion as a general emotion or feeling.
Troy. I think she hold, her powers are to suit the episode, guys.
They suit they work at the speed of plot, as they say.
Yes.
Yeah. And so again, Pulaski calls.
I can't read them.
This is like the third time that Pulaski has called Picard to come meet Picard. And he doesn't ask Troy to come with him this time, but there's kind of this look here from Riker where Troy decides to go anyway. And he encounters him here. I don't know. I'm getting confused with the amount of times they had a meeting here between the two Picards, but this is the scene where he yells at him.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's hard without the dialogue in front of me. I wish I had subtitles. Yeah. The confused Picard.
Well, that's what I thought too. I thought this conversation.
I thought it was the same
last-
scene, but I forgot that there's this whole scene where it ends and then he comes back, and it's the same kind of a thing. It doesn't really change.
Yeah.
It feels like it should be just one scene, but they technically break it up into two. And then we finally get the Pulaski versus Troy here, where Pulaski's ready to relieve Captain Picard of duty already, based on and Troy
She's putting the feelers out anyway. Is there another senior officer that would be down for this?
Yeah, well, I think it's a tough one because Pulaski is medical, but I guess also that would include psychiatric evaluations.
Yeah.
But this is also kind of crossing over into Troy's purview and her territory. So there's kind of a little bit of a weird power struggle here in terms of who has the authority to rule on the captain's mental state more thoroughly. Is it the chief medical officer or the chief?
I would
Chief
imagine it's
medical officer.
Pulaski.
I would imagine you're probably correct. Although I guess Troy, not having the authority, would still have a voice in the matter.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been established that Troy has the ability to relieve, like, the captain. She can relieve other crew members, I think.
But only the chief medical officer actually could do this.
You know
I
what
think-
else had confusion about her role? Captain Jellicoe.
Captain Jellicoe. He's like, what do you do here?
What do you do?
Unclear.
Put a uniform on.
Put a uniform on. Yeah, so I don't know. This Pulaski versus Troy thing, I don't know. It's not my favorite part of the episode. It's kind of it doesn't go anywhere ultimately. Pulaski never tries to do this to relieve him, but Troy's
But she does piss Troy off so much that she's now about to disobey orders. Picard said, "Stay with him."
Oh yeah,
You'll be the first one.
That's true. Yeah, thank you
That's
for
true.
reminding me. Thank you for reminding me because I like right before Picard leaves, he goes, "Council, you stay because you're likely the first one that the doppelganger will be able to communicate with." And Troy immediately leaves out of this conversation with Pulaski. That's bizarre. Okay, then Picard goes down to Shuttle Bay 2 again. I like the way this is shot. It's kind of a weirdly wide shot from the back. You see the shadow of Picard staring there at the shuttle. He then
I like the
comes in.
sign, stand clear of tractor beam. So was it?
Stand clear of the
Like-
tractor beam. You don't want to get sucked into space. I can tell you that much. And Picard kind of trying to deal with like this impending doom. What do I do? What decision am I going to make? The doubt. This is this an unbreakable time loop or not? Is it impossible to change the future, or is it? So Picard is having those demons. He heads off out of the shuttle bay, and there's nothing spoken in that whole scene, but I think it's pretty good.
Can we also just talk about the design of shuttlecrafts for a second?
Sure.
They look terrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're okay.
No, Dave, they're not. They're exactly like the original series. They're not exactly. They're just so boxy and Actually, they're very 1980s.
Well, the show was made in the 80s.
It's a very, K-car-ish kind of.
K-car.
I don't know. It might be fun to. It's not meant to be like it's not a car. It's meant to be like flown in space, right?
Space
So
vehicle.
it's a space vehicle, but yeah, they get better. They get better. It was the 80s. They didn't know yet. It was aerodynamics and.
Oh, they were building K-cars at the time. Right? That's why.
Yeah, exactly. What else can you expect from them?
They did so much to the Enterprise. That's as far as they could go.
What do you guys think in the comments? Are the shuttles good or bad? Let us know. And then, okay, we got this whole scene here with Picard and Riker where Picard's trying to figure out what to do, how to get through this. And Riker's like, you're frustrated because you can't, not only can you not find the solution, you can't even define the problem.
This is the best Riker counseling I've ever seen.
This is one of the better Riker Picard conversations, I think, where Riker is counseling Picard
Yes.
more directly.
He's doing his job.
He's doing his job, and Picard says,
You're saying I should just sit down, shut up, and wait.
yeah. Well, I wouldn't put it that eloquently, Riker says, but, pretty much. And Picard's like, I don't do that very well. That's not my thing. Sit down, shut up, and wait. But Riker, he's
I'm
having a good
reading
time.
Picard's autobiography right now, and this reminded me of a scene he just wrote in the book that I was reading on how you've heard this story, I'm sure, how he was too severe when he first started acting the first season and yelled at the crew that they were goofing off too much. And then he stormed out. And then he said that Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner went to his trailer to kind of calm him down and talk to him and all that. But it seems like that kind of a conversation that Riker is like the adult here. He's the more capable one, which isn't what you always see.
Well, Pulaski's like halfway ready to relieve him of duty, and Riker's trying to I guess make him feel a little bit better about the situation, and deal with it the best way he can, without getting sort of hung up on all that. So Nocturnal saying early shuttles are multi-person coffins. They look like hearses or ambulances a little bit, especially since Picard and Troy not to leave, and now she leaves to get away from Pulaski. Well, that's. If there's one reason to disobey orders, maybe Kevin would approve of that.
I would absolutely approve.
You don't care for her bedside manner?
Let the ship blow up if it means you don't have to spend another minute with Pulaski.
Oh yeah, I forgot you never come around on Pulaski.
Never, and I never will.
Well, just then, Picard and Riker are called to the bridge, and out of nowhere, this vortex has opened up. Oh, hold on, I gotta know.
I like this graphic.
I always think that's my sound effect for take us out of your precious vortex.
Has anyone thought that this could be Q?
Save
Playing a
that.
trick on him? Okay.
Save that, please.
Just even looking at this, I'm like,
Yeah, maybe not. Here it is. Is this it? No, I on you with my presence. Okay, sorry, I need to move on. Anyway, so we see that this is kind of like a big cylinder cloud thing in
Top of
space.
a tornado.
It's like a tornado. Yeah, good comparison there. The tornado is now on the Enterprise, and the Enterprise is like being held there, almost like a tractor beam, and being slowly pulled in. The Enterprise has to go to has to put the engines at 30% just to kind of stay at their position. So there's this whole thing. We see that it's a local temporal continuum anomaly is how the sensors define it. So take that for what it is.
continuum.
Yeah, temporal continuum, if you will. They call Geordi, get the hell out of engineering and do your work from up here on the bridge. They say, okay, on my way. Then Troy.
So guys, what happens when Geordi leaves engineering and then starts up the little computer on the bridge? What do they do in engineering at that point?
I don't know.
Just hang out.
I think that's just where he can kind of that's just like his desk is there now, right?
Okay.
Desktop.
All right, so they get to this. Can you? We're not there yet. Sorry, David. I mean, again, take control from you.
Well, we'll get there in a second. Troy then tells us that the vortex or whatever it is, the tornado, is got some kind of a consciousness, but not, very defined, not necessarily sentient, or it's a little vague.
More
That's right.
instinct than intent.
More instinct than intent, yeah, is what we're told. So we're trying to sort that out. I think Jordy eventually shows up here. It's a long ride up here from engineering, guys. Anything else?
Jordy's got hybrid working.
Hybrid. Yeah, he's a hybrid working here. Yeah, here's Jordy. Now he's finally made it up to the bridge, so he can do things. He's like, okay, I'm gonna give you warp power, Captain. He goes, engage. Let's get out of here.
Well, so wait, again, isn't this the helmsman job to go to warp 9?
Right? Does it? Worf does it.
No, Jordy does it.
They both know how, I guess, but it's a little strange. There's no Wesley Crusher in this episode for some reason either.
They haven't even done a shot of those guys up front.
No.
No, they're like, no one knows their names. We're not even going to ask them to do.
So there must be. You're probably right about this bottle episode. They're doing this on the cheap.
Yeah, they are. And they're trying to figure out, like, do we stay and investigate or do we try to run away? Do we, what's going to lead to the problem, like where the Enterprise is destroyed? So eventually,
Norman's absolutely right. So he can. Jordy can stand in.
Jordy can stand in. So many comments.
Helms.
Well,
Norman?
Jordy used to be the helmsman. Yeah, true. He is.
True.
So the Enterprise is now trying to go to warp. They're at warp 9, but this is not having an effect. They're getting pulled deeper into the vortex. And Picard's not too happy with this decision.
It's such a stupid position. He's got to stand at his station and then look around.
Look and turn the other way.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because Worf's console is great because he's behind. He can kind of see everything. He can see, everything else. But
Just flying the ship at maximum difficulty.
Yes. Let's play this in reverse. The Enterprise is shaking now. They're going to warp 9, but it's to no avail. The more they try to escape, the more they're sucked into the vortex, and the Enterprise is pulled in.
This was kind of cool too. I did like how it just sort of tipped over and went down.
Yeah, got pulled in.
It's a Titanic.
Yep.
Yeah, and we know the Enterprise is this massive ship that but how much bigger this is too to it in comparison. So they're in there, they're trying, but they can't keep this up forever. The engines are going to eventually give out, like it's too much strain on it. As they look into this vortex here, they launch a probe. I forgot about the probe. If we ever want to break it, say,
Launch a Class 1 probe.
the probe gets destroyed, and there she goes. And then just then, Picard gets attacked by an energy beam. Pretty strongly. This instinctual vortex thing, I guess, figured out Picard's the captain, and it also goes after him in sickbay, his doppelganger, at the same time. And Picard says that felt personal. What are we going to do? That I think Troy is the one who gives this report of how the entity kind of is fixated on Picard specifically. It was kind of the ship at first, but now it's specifically Picard. Pulaski reports that the doppelganger got hit as well, and then Picard gets hit again by another beam thrown against the wall. He's having a rough day, Picard. And he's like, "Well, counselor, if I left the ship, would the entity focus its attention on me, right?" And she goes, "Well, maybe." And so you can see that this is how the doppelganger Picard came to this realization: the entity wants me. If I leave the ship, then maybe the Enterprise can survive. This thing that they couldn't fathom comes up very simply here as an example. And Picard says, I'm going to figure out what I'm doing here. So he leaves Riker here. Now Riker kind of gives a glance to Troy, and Troy then goes on to the turbolift herself to kind of go after Picard and figure this out and see if she can counsel him. Now, here's my question. Picard left first, right? He got on that turbolift first. But when we then catch up with Picard here in sickbay, Troy is already present.
What? Good catch.
So did she take a faster turbolift?
Yeah, must
She because she wasn't supposed to leave his side, so she's trying to get there ahead of him.
Yeah, she had to get back. So she wasn't in
back.
trouble for leaving him.
Did Picard stop somewhere on the way? Potentially. I don't know. It seems like a weird thing to do, but maybe he had to go pee. I don't know. And yeah, so coming out now, Doppelganger Picard is now able to talk. He can see people somewhat. He knows he's on the Enterprise, but he doesn't know who main Picard is. He can't recognize him. He looks around. He's still very disoriented, and he's very fixated. He's like, I have to get off the ship. I have to get off the Enterprise, no matter what. We have to go. So they order that they release the restraints, and Doppelganger Picard heads off.
Pulaski at every turn resists every single order. She drives me absolutely crazy in every episode.
I've got friends like that too, who just like, no, I'm not doing that. But so it goes. So then we get this whole Picard talking to Picard, walk and talk, because main Picard, the one who hasn't time traveled or not Doppelganger Picard, he tells Troy and Pulaski and everybody else, security, everybody else, to stand back. This is between Picards. Doppelganger Picard explains that he has to get off the Enterprise, that the entity is obsessed with him, that thinks of him as the brain of the ship, and that he has to get off, and that's the only choice. While main Picard just keeps trying to get answers throughout this whole conversation. And then he says, well, do you think that the entities were obsessed with me or obsessed with you, Doppelganger? And he goes,
You're confusing me.
you're confusing me. Shut up. I don't know what you're talking about. Remember, I told you I don't know who you are. And they say, he's Picard, Doppelganger Picard opens the shuttle bay. He gets ready to get back onto his old shuttle. And main Picard says, no, you can't do this. This is not right. And Picard is now.
He just keeps trying to get him to tell him what the other option was.
What the other command option was.
Yeah.
Right. Eventually it's revealed that the other option is that just go through. Just instead of trying to get out of the vortex, just go through the vortex and come out the butthole of it. You instead of trying to get back out the mouth. And Picard says, that's it. We have to break this cycle. He goes, Captain Picard. And Picard goes, what? And he goes, you're dead. And he phasers him on kill.
Yeah.
Right there.
Are we sure it was not they don't? I noticed that too. And I was like, I wonder if they'll say after oh, it was on stun, but he was so stressed that it killed him. But no, they never say anything.
They never say anything. Is this a murder?
I think it might be.
Yeah.
Might be. Well,
yeah.
Can you kill yourself?
Murder suicide all in
murder
one.
suicide, maybe. I don't know. We might need a new law for this. The specific crime. But Picard, shut himself down. Talk about a trip. But the alternate Picard the Doppelganger Picard does not disappear right away or anything. He will disappear here in a minute. So Picard calls up the bridge. He goes, okay, I'm coming. And he calls Pulaski. And for some reason, O'Brien shows up here with Pulaski for no specific reason. O'Brien doesn't even know why he's in the scene.
He's just
like,
standing there.
Why am I here? It's not clear.
Dave, you said, I think last episode or the week before, he's just in every episode now.
He's just in every episode in season 2. They I guess they made a deal with Cole Meany where we'll have you on retainer and we can pull you into any episode, and that's what they do. They pull him all the time. And so Pulaski just looks at O'Brien on this dead Doppelganger Picard, and she goes, nope. And he's like, O'Brien just has this look like, I don't know. This is a weird day at work. I got to tell you. Picard says, okay, back on the bridge.
There's no reason to go to the transporter room, so they brought him there.
Yeah. Picard says, okay, let's turn around and actually try to go through the vortex. Right through we'll go right out of the colon here and into it. And they go through. It's a little rough, I think, at first. But as they're doing that, we see O'Brien witnesses Doppelganger Picard disappear. The time loop is broken. And then the shuttle shortly after that. As the Enterprise then emerges at warp out of the vortex.
Do you know what I think should have happened here? We should have had a 2-part episode.
Okay.
And now they should all be 6 hours behind and confused, just like Picard. Barely able to function.
Yeah, they all fall down. They go, what is happening? And they have to restrain all of them. And it's only Captain Picard who can solve it all. But yeah, it's all been worked out. The time loop is broken. O'Brien calls up and kind of tells them that the dead Picard is been erased from existence, so I guess he wasn't murdered. And you know, he's like, it was a weird day. I gotta tell you, this is one of the weirder things I've had to do. Jordy says we're back on course. We're going along here, and Picard says, "Okay, cool. Well, I think I'm done for the day too." We have a little break here for our sort of final scene in the episode. Picard now contemplating everything that's happened. Riker comes to console him, and Picard says, "I don't know, man. Like, it's not fun meeting oneself, you know." And it was kind of a thing. I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't sure what Picard just seems shaken from the whole event, right?
Yeah. Well, there's always this. I don't know if it was an '80s idea, but there was always this: meeting yourself would be like the worst possible thing. Maybe, I guess, but
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't want everybody to meet oneself. I don't know. I think it was harder for Picard specifically than anybody else. Yeah, so Nocturnal asking, does O'Brien even know there's a duplicate, or does he think the captain is dead?
That's
Yeah. Norman saying O'Brien had to witness. Almost wonder if the DS9 episode Prophecy, if he remembered this. Yeah, because there was it was the duplicate O'Brien, if you recall.
Yeah.
He has to sort of trade places with. I'm in Visionary. Yeah, the Visionary is the episode where he's jumping around. Prophecy is the Voyager episode with the Klingons. Yeah, all good, Norman. We know what you mean.
Well, I'm thinking is it Tapestry with Q where you bring Picard back with his heart, and
yeah,
I think it's like this is like a precursor to Tapestry. Like,
would you just hang on to that thought, please?
Okay. Oh, you're just gonna still say something? Okay.
Well, we're talking. We got some fun facts coming up, I hope.
Our
maybe
whole
I'm right.
segment
Maybe
here
I'm right.
called Fun Facts with Adam. I can never.
All right.
Fun Facts with Adam. Fun Facts with Adam.
It's great. Okay, guys. So Picard admits he has trouble and with waiting patiently, and Riker says that it's Picard's Persian flaw. Did you guys catch that?
I didn't hear him say
I didn't
Persian
get it,
specifically.
though.
Okay, in a traditional Persian carpet weaving, it was standard practice to deliberately make a few mistakes because attempting perfection may offend God.
So he's allowed. He tries to have no flaws. Flaws. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that he does.
Mm-hmm.
Picard is perfect. Everybody thinks he's perfect.
Well, he's pretty perfect.
Yeah. Shuttle number 5, the Elbaz, which Picard used to escape the Enterprise, is named after Farouk Elbaz, a geologist who helped train the Apollo astronaut command module pilots observe the moon from orbit. His contribution is portrayed in the docudrama Galileo Was Right.
Oh, maybe he'll come up on For All Mankind.
I'm looking for it. Well, I think we're beyond that point now. So, Jane, here we go. Originally meant to be a 2-part story with Q, the force behind the time anomaly. Elements of this were used in All Good Things later on.
Okay. So who wrote this episode then?
Hurley wrote it. Morris Hurley. So, but
They-
he didn't write the story. He just wrote the teleplay, which could explain some of the choices.
Okay. I can't believe I called that.
Yep.
Didn't read anything.
Um,
Yeah. Okay.
This is a bottle episode, meaning the entire episode was filmed with only the main characters and sets. So I guess they're defining now O'Brien as a main character.
Well, he's as much of a main character as Pulaski. Well, maybe
Pulaski
maybe
gets a lot
bit,
of
though.
time, though. She talks a lot.
Yeah,
Much
but
to
O'Brien-
Kevin's
boy,
like-
does she ever.
yeah, and Kevin's here for every minute of it. Quite frankly.
Yep. Pulaski's surprise reaction. Your father liked to cook is a hint of what's revealed in the very next episode, The Icarus Factor, where she is an old girlfriend of Riker's father, Kyle.
Right, that's coming up in the next episode, which we're going to talk about next week. I got a great panel also to talk about all that. But
You know who it is yet?
I do.
Okay, just kidding. All right. When Picard and Riker are theorizing how the Elbaz shuttle arrived to them 6 hours in the future, slingshot time travel is mentioned. This is the method that Captain Kirk and his crew used to travel back in time in the Naked Time in 1966. Tomorrow is yesterday in 1967. Assignment Earth in 1968, and Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. They really like the slingshot.
Yeah, they do reference the slingshot around the sun. Like theoretically, if you go to warp 10, you could travel through time and then swing slingshot around the sun, but nothing natural could do it.
calculations would have to be precise.
And there was you need to have a Spock, wouldn't you? Or
Yeah.
to do such things.
And then to wrap it up, well, this is the first time the destruction of the Galaxy class U.S. Enterprise is witnessed. This is the second Galaxy class starship to be destroyed in the series. I think we did that in Contagion a few weeks ago. The sister ship Yamamoto was destroyed in Contagion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of incredible to see the Enterprise blow up the first time. Maybe we saw it so many times in Cause and Effect, we got a little
Yeah.
desensitized, but
All hands abandon ship.
all hands abandoned ship.
Repeat.
Yeah, and then in the groups they call out, Picard gives a direct order to Troy to stay with Picard B. Only a moment later, she walks out on him. I love it.
Yeah,
She's
you
not
and you
good.
mentioned this thing about Q that the story was originally meant to feature Q, but Gene Roddenberry overruled it.
Are you
So-
speculating, or is that a fact?
Well, that's what Wikipedia says.
Okay.
So it was okay.
I think they were trying to set up maybe this was another Q thing, but then Gene Roddenberry said no for whatever reason. So
I think Gene Roddenberry's starting to lose, his influence at this point, though. Too.
he would have
Yeah.
already lost it actually. Like we're getting towards what is this, episode 13? So we're halfway through the season. I don't know. Well, not even more than halfway, because this only goes to 22 episodes this season.
Yeah, that's what it was weird. Like, why would this entity be obsessed with Picard? That's why it just feels like, okay, where's Q?
There's not enough to it.
Yeah.
It's lacking
Yeah,
a little bit of substance, although I think some of the acting is great.
It does feel like
Yeah.
a practice episode for what's to come.
Cause and effect, tapestry.
Is that the end of Fun Facts, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I don't like.
There's not much fun around this episode.
Oh, it's so fun. Come on, Plasky. It's loads of fun. All right, let's bring in our ratings, everybody, and what we want to give this. Now, Sam said he was giving this a 7.8. Or if that would influence your judgment here. Jane, does that influence your rating?
7.8. Oh, I'm just looking at last week.
Lauren
I
says
liked.
9.2.
Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna say 7.5.
Jane's giving a 7.5. Adam, you're up.
They lost me in the eggs. The eggs right off the bat.
That's the very beginning of the episode.
I'm giving this a flat out 5. I did not really enjoy
A
it.
5 from Adam. Kevin.
Go with a 6.
6 from Kevin. Okay. It's a 6.5 for me. Okay, so
Okay,
it's,
drop mine to the 7. Yeah.
you're dropping to a 7. You
Dropping to
going,
7. Yeah.
but Norman gave 9.2.
Well, he really likes it.
He really likes it. I
Norman
like,
I like it. I do like it. I
like it.
Just
but I don't know. On the rewatch, I was like, it's a lot of scenes talking. It's a lot. I don't know. It's lacking a little bit something.
And it
I
just
like it.
ended.
I like the mystery of it, but the episode really is incomplete.
Norman's sticking with it, so it's all good, Norman. You don't have to just.
Oh, Norman, go for it. You like it. You like it.
So this episode 6.1 is our average tonight. So not our worst episode of season 2, but not our best either. And now we're looking ahead to next episode. We will be covering the one that Norman said meh to. It is called The Icarus Factor, and we have except for myself, a women panel coming in for this one. We have Heather, Ashley, and Becky, Jameel's beau, coming in to talk about an episode about daddy issues.
So-
So it should be interesting. Yes, so that will be coming up in 1 week's time. Look out for that. We get some
So
Mbujitsu.
it's like this episode. Sorry, this season is now it's sort of as a low point.
This is the low point. Remember,
Of
it
the
ends with
season?
shades of gray. Okay. I was looking ahead to some of these episodes, like we got Q Who coming up in 3 weeks.
yeah,
that's
that's
that's gonna be great. We got Samaritan Snare. We got even Peak Performance. I think is a pretty strong episode with
What's
that
that one?
battle stretch. That's the one where they have to do the battle strategy where Riker takes over that old
Strategema?
Oh, I like that one. I like that one.
Strategema and all that kind of stuff.
Strategema, Yeah.
Yeah, and so there are
Okay.
some good episodes, but there's also some questionable episodes like Up the Long Ladder in here. I think Pen Pals seems to be not a beloved episode from what I can tell from the group.
Oh, Data.
In for a
Data,
penny. In for a pound.
Sarjenko. And we also have Manhunt with Loxana Troy coming up as well. So it's Jane, you're on that one. We're bringing another all-women panel for Manhunt. So it's
Is
gonna
that with
be,
the Ferengi kidnapper?
No, that's
No, that's
Menage a
not.
Troy.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is the
but
one
not
where I
Troy.
think where Troy tries to marry Picard, like and all this kind of stuff. It's got the Fishman, the guy from Fleetwood
Oh,
Mac,
Fish Face, yeah.
Mick Fleetwood,
Fleetwood? Yeah.
in the fish alien thing. And Norman saying his top 3 episodes, I think from this season 2, are Measure of a Man, Q-Who, and Times Square. So this is one of your top 3. Okay, well, it makes sense with your high rating. Shades of Grey, Up the Long Ladder, Icarus Factor, and Manhunt are among the worst. I think I don't truly remember Icarus Factor. It's been a while since I've
It
watched
starts really good.
and
Can I do a quick spoiler on it? Because
Yeah.
it starts with Breaker being promoted for the first time.
Oh, this is where they want him to become captain for the first time. Yeah, and it's got the whole scene with Worf and the pain sticks, and him walking-
Okay. That's like the B story.
I like to
That
think it's a
one?
John
Okay.
Tesh episode, really, because John Tesh plays one of those Klingons. So I remember
Entertainment Tonight.
I remember watching Entertainment Tonight, and John Tesh had a whole segment in that episode talking to Mary Hart about how he went into the makeup and he played the Klingon and everything else.
Oh,
and
you're for real. John Tesh is one of the Klingons.
Oh yeah, he's one of the
Oh.
Klingons hitting him with the pain stick. So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, we'll see if we can pull him out next week. All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode. We, of course, every Monday we're covering episodes of For All Mankind. Right. This next one we're doing is season 1, episode 4, Prime Crew. So look out for that. And if you haven't watched For All Mankind, you should really check it out. It's really good. What else? I think we might be doing something on Super Mater Brothers, the Mary Mater Marvel Society this weekend to talk about Daredevil potentially. So look out for that if you want to see any of our Marvel reviews. Of course, we're covering Survivor right now on the Super Maters as well.
What season are we in, Dave?
48.
48.
So-
Kevin, 48.
Yeah. Well, it's like asking what season, is the Major League Baseball in, who keeps track anymore?
Yeah.
It's nothing like that, actually.
It's like it's a sport now, Adam. It's like a whole thing.
Cracks me up.
I watched the first season and that was it.
That's it.
Yeah, I remember the first
Wow.
season. That's all I watched there, too.
That's like watching old timey baseball from like 1860 and then trying to watch
Mhm.
baseball now. It's completely different.
The game has
Yeah.
changed.
It's changed, evolved.
Okay.
Well, on that note, what else? We should go on a quote here. I think I have something good here from Worf. No, from Picard. Yeah, we'll go out on this one. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks to Adam, Jane, and Kevin. And live long and podcast. Have a good one.
Well, they say if you travel far enough, you will eventually meet yourself.
Yes. Oops. And bye.
Hello, I'm Tim Russ. Live long and podcast.